Hi there.
Hey!
Ascension Dimension, Lewis, Christina.
Back again.
Today we're going to talk about the last little tippy top end of our summer travels. So that we've kind of stepped back a bit because we did our UK trip last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
But there was just a very unusual little addendum to our summer trip where we ended up. It was our anniversary, and I was kind of looking at the map. Where can we stay? Because we've moved out of our house and we still didn't have somewhere to be. So I was trying to find somewhere cost effective to go for a few days before we could get our house back.
But also fun.
Yeah. Also fun, yeah. So I was trying to incorporate quite a few different things, and
Well, our anniversary is in August, and we've been doing this pretty much since we met. We always do something fun. We always do like a little getaway, don't we, for our anniversary? And
yeah.
there's always quite fun. They're always quite eventful in one way or another.
Anyway, so I put in a filter on Booking.com. I do not recommend using Booking.com. I think they're a bunch of scamming bastards now.
We're not allowed to use them anymore.
Horrendous. And if you go on
Trustpilot?
Trustpilot. Look at the reviews on Trustpilot now, because Trustpilot you can get a pretty good feel for companies, but it's gone down so downhill. And I realised that as we were trying to get our money back for this awful experience. Anyway, so
we've travelled the world using Booking.com though, so it was quite upsetting that it was such a bad experience. Yeah, but anyway, Lewis booked us this wonderful getaway.
I put a filter of hot tub.
Just
because, I thought, okay, well, if we could just get a little place with a hot tub, and this little, it was a tiny apartment, and it was full of
knickknacks,
artisan pottery kind of stuff, and it kind of looked quirky, and it said breakfast included, and I was thinking, hot tub, breakfast included, quirky little town I've never been to. Sounds alright, and it was cheap. It was cheap. I thought, okay, some people they've put their COVID prices on. We've had to do the same sort of thing. I just thought, okay, this looks alright. What could go wrong? I didn't see the pictures of the hot tub. I just thought, okay, well, they haven't. I guess that's where I went wrong.
Yeah, you didn't look at the pictures.
I did. No, I did look at the pictures, but I just assumed that they had not put that particular. Anyway, so now we're getting into the weeds. But that decision there chose the geographical location, because I was okay to go pretty much the whole of Andalusia.
Yeah, we're normally quite open. We wanted to stay around in Spain, and we needed to get back for a party, our friend's 10-year anniversary, so otherwise we would have gone to England a week earlier, wouldn't we? We would have gone for our anniversary at the end of August, but no. So anyway, we went to this wonderful little town called Ubeda, which I've never heard of before, in the province of Jaen. So our whole summer has actually been around Jaen, really, hasn't it? So I think we've driven through Ubeda, or I've gone past it. I've seen it on the map a couple of times. I thought, it's a strange name. So we ended up there. It turned out to be a really fun few days. We took the kids, obviously. It was us and the kids. But first we arrived at this can't touch anything in the apartment because it's crammed full of all these ceramic things. We turned there with our kids. I was like, yeah, this isn't going to be very relaxing, because I'm going to be like, don't touch that. And there was no hot tub.
And I said, so can you just let me know where's the hot tub? He said, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I think he must be confused, because it's definitely said in the listing, hot tub. But he was like, "Oh, I'm in a rush. I'm in a rush." Off he went. But he made a big point about saying, "Don't get in touch with Booking.com. If there's anything whatsoever, just get in touch with me." But he was off.
Yeah, and he was gone. He was in a rush because he was off to Cadiz for the weekend with his kids and his wife. So then we just sat. We were a little bit in shock. We sat down. The kids were loving it because there was all these shiny things and a bunk bed. And we were looking around, and there wasn't really a lot of space for us for a start. But then we're like, well, it's our anniversary weekend. We kind of wanted a bit of a hot tub, even though it's the middle of August. It's really hot, but that's
Anyway,
what we wanted.
It became clear that there was a lesson in it.
There was a lesson in it, yes.
Now, oftentimes, every time we get confronted with some kind of issue where someone's done you wrong, firstly you have to assess it. I mean, we had to assess it, and we figured out, okay, it's clear what they've done, because when we spoke to this guy, he was like, no, I've just told them it's a hydro massage shower. Anyway, we looked at the Spanish one and we looked at the English one, and they've clearly, they're fudging the ad, right?
Yeah.
So that their property appears when you use that filter, because you can filter properties. We're in the business, so we know how you can do these things.
But you put in the Google search spa resorts, didn't you?
That's the thing. Even from Google front page, right? I was searching for hot tub properties
spa
or spa resorts. Yeah, spa resorts. That was it. Spa resorts
Or spa retreats.
in Jaen.
Spa retreats in Jaen.
And this came up.
Because in July we'd driven past a few hotels that were spa hotels, so we thought, we'll find a cool one and we'll just go back and spend 3 or 4 days there in one of those kind of places. That was our idea, wasn't it? That's what we thought. Anyway, so we ended up in this place. He's like, oh, no. It says it breakfast included. What he meant was they put coffee pods in and a few cakes, which is not breakfast.
Yeah, I'd expect to get...
Breakfast included means breakfast included.
Yeah, every day.
Because in our house, in our rental, we put a welcome pack in, but we don't put that on the listing. It's something we inform afterwards because we modify it. But yeah, there's tea, coffee, and milk, and we put a bit of bread and whatever in there, ham and cheese and stuff. But this was literally coffee pods and some cakes.
Some little cakes in plastic wrappers.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Madalenas, they're called.
So it was quite clear that they were taking the piss.
Yeah, so to up their search listing, that's what they're on. But most of the time, because of the guy's personality, he's so friendly, I'm guessing he gets away with it because people are like, oh, well, and then he gives you a free tour around the ceramic place and all that kind of stuff, and it just washes over. But with us, that didn't work. One, because he buggered off to Cadiz and he wasn't there, and two, we weren't going for ceramics and pottery. It's not really our kind of thing. It would have been nice, but that's what we were there for. But we'd been drawn to this town anyway, so we had to walk around, and we called Booking.com. They told us not to leave because we wouldn't get a full refund. So
they said let us clear it, and in the
it was a big palaver. But we had to figure out what the lesson,
to us.
What was the important to us.
Do we dig in, or do we let it go? And so we put up a fight. Because it was wrong. It was wrong. And we didn't want this guy to keep getting away with it, because I think that's the apathy to the situation that most people would have exhibited. Like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. Oh, it's only a few days. Or because I could just imagine, and because I would read through some of the other reviews, and people were starting to get fed up with that. So it needed correcting, that behaviour needed correcting. So we did dig in, and we did make it very clear that wasn't right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the end, we're out of pocket because no one gave us a refund after saying that they would, and the bank, even the bank they wouldn't reverse the charge. They said, well, we're not
Well,
going to
we were at breakfast the next morning. We'd made the decision. We're like, well, okay, we stayed there the night. We walked around the town. We did a little bit of digging. We're like, okay, well, we quite like the town. We might just stay 1 or 2 nights. And then I'd found another hotel in Granada on the way back with a nice big swimming pool. Thought, well, we'll stay here a night or two, and then we'll go there for a couple of nights so that the kids have got something to do. Because the lack of room in the apartment was an issue for me, because we couldn't move, couldn't even watch the TV because the table was in the way. Not that we do that, but still, it just wasn't right for us. But then when we were at breakfast, we had a lovely breakfast. We found this really great little cafe that did fresh juices and whole grain bread. Oh, it was really nice.
Pancakes.
And they called us and they said, okay, well, you can have this much refund if you check out like now. We're like, well, we need half an hour, so we rushed back. And on the way, we went past the hotel, asked how much it would be. We got a room there for the amount of money we were going to get the refund. So we were like, oh, buzzing, we'll stay in this town. Didn't work out that way. But anyway, what happened was we ended up staying in this awesome little town, which we'd never heard of before. But turns out it's got, what is it? How many palaces? There's like 16 palaces in this one town, like from olden times. Or 16, was it 16 chapels? No, 16 churches.
Yeah,
cathedrals.
there was loads of churches and loads of these
Cathedrals.
aristocracy palaces
Yeah.
but so go in there with so we'll leave the scammy bastard.
Yes,
I'm not bitter about that.
No, we're not. He's not bitter about it at all. But we let that go. We analysed the situation. We decided we didn't want it to ruin our weekend, and we just carried on with it.
But we were there on a mission. We were there on a mission. Lucy Davis would have been proud because we were spreading our light.
We were there spreading light, and I didn't understand what we were there for. But then we found this monastery. That is a working monastery for the nuns in, and it was an Archangel Michael monastery, which we thought was quite interesting. Jensen absolutely loved. Then we found all these old buildings with different like signs and stuff, and then all these massive cathedrals. The old treasurer for the king, for the first Juan Carlos I, I think, built his palace there, and then he built this massive funeral cathedral, which was the vibe in there was just it was quite horrid actually. When you went inside, it made you feel very uneasy. Even the kids picked up on it. So yeah, we did our little tours and we walked around and we just anchored light everywhere we went, because that's kind of what we do. We go spreading light and
but there were lots of mysteries.
Yeah, there was lots of mysteries, but I got a lot of this one square we went to. So there's this cathedral, and then there's another 4-star hotel, which is the tourism office also, which is some old palace. Loads of palaces in one town. I've never been to a Spanish town with loads of palaces, and we city hop quite a lot around Spain, around the bigger cities, and you don't get that. So I found that quite interesting. And then through this, you came down this little square, and it opened up to another square where there is the only cathedral that has been given the name Basilica, that is outside of Italy, and it is right opposite an old palace which is now being turned into the town hall, which was housing women. It turned into like a women's association, and they were called Women in Chains, and they were single women, women with child, women that weren't married, and they were all living here, and it was right opposite a church, this Basilica church, and it was just very weird energy, very weird vibe. It's very bizarre. But we did the rounds, didn't we? And out of the 16, I think there's 3 cathedrals that aren't being used. One of them that's been reinstated by some artist things that they put on like plays or shows. Would it be shows if an artist puts up loads of exhibitions there for the weekends and stuff? So they open doors, and whatever money is generated is there to restore the old building. But it's quite an interesting town because, to the history of Spain, it was quite a popular way to go through. It was like a meeting point between Granada and then Madrid or something, coming through Jaen, because it was encased in a wall.
Queen Elizabeth go there?
It was the Queen of Spain that went through there. I don't know if it was Queen Elizabeth. It was the Queen of Spain that went through there. And there's a fruit in Spain called a granada,
which is a
which are
pomegranate.
pomegranate. And then there's the gate to Granada, and then there's a saying, whoever can eat a granada underneath in the doorway of Granada before the sun sets will hold the treasure that I've hidden. And there's like a myth saying that she's hidden some treasure under the doorway, which we thought was quite fun. But the whole town has an old wall around it, so it was like built inside a wall, the old town.
So with our newfound way of looking at things, and our we've got our conspiratorial research, and knowing with the corruption between the aristocracy and the the organised religion,
Yeah.
and seeing how they were so closely interwoven in this town, it was like literally, okay, so what do you need for these rituals? Well, you need missing people that no one care about.
Yeah.
And so it was just that it was so interwoven and very, very dark.
A lot of orphanages, a lot of single women's that they had to convert. That was it. They were all forced to convert to Catholicism. Another thing about this wonderful city is, before all this weirdness that happened in the history, the Jews, the Muslims, and the Moors and the Catholics all used to live in this village or town happily, and they used, everyone has their own beliefs, but they used to live quite well. And then obviously all this weirdness that happened in Spain came in, and then we went into an old Jewish water. What was that called? It's that water thing that we did. There was it was like a synagogue. It was a synagogue, and it was underground. It had been hidden, so everyone had converted or said to have convert, but then they had all these like underground kitchens with all the big pottery to keep their food separate, and you weren't allowed to cook with oils and stuff. You had to cook with pig fat, which obviously the Jews wouldn't do. It was quite interesting finding out all this history that we didn't. I don't think we've always gone to visit places and stuff, but we didn't realise it, like to what levels people had to live through these times, and it was so interesting. I found it very, very interesting that before there had been complete peace until this was Cat's doing some really cool stretching. Before these religious wars were brought in, but there was a lot of orphanages, a lot of convents or places that would adopt single mothers, and then there was a lot of cathedrals and churches and a lot of palaces. Way too many palaces. I don't even think the capital of Spain has that many palaces. By palaces we don't mean like Buckingham Palace. We mean like manor homes, wouldn't they be? They're like aristocracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just very, very ornate residential buildings, but
massive ones.
Palatial.
Yeah, palatial.
There's so many literally interconnected with the churches and the hospitals and the orphanages, and it was just like, oh, this is dark. And there was that. Do you remember that church with all the bricks had the little letters on the outside, the carvings on
that was the palace of the guy that had died there, that was buried in the funeral one with the black and white floor.
So each brick had a marking on it, and it was the only place we'd ever seen that had like it was almost like Greek letters or numbers, or we didn't get to the bottom of what exactly.
Well,
it was.
they say that it was the masons from the stonemasons. So each mason would put their marking in the stone, and then when they're used in buildings, they know who they've got to pay. Which I've heard this a lot. I've heard it.
Is that
tea?
That's
our tea. Hey, sorry, Nips was in our tea. Let me go and get the tea. Hey, get out of the tea. Stick your paw in my tea. Here's your tea. Time for a brew.
Thank you for reminding me about my tea.
Yeah. Made the tea for the video. So, but they don't normally put them on the outside of the building, and it was interesting because this building had been completely burnt to the ground. Now, this was actually commissioned by the treasurer to the king, and he'd never actually finished the building. I think he died before he did, and then his wife finished it. And now it's being rehabilitated to be a university or an exchange school for musicians. There's a lot of musicking going on in the town as well. It was a lovely, lovely place, but it was a very weird energy, and I realised that there was a lot of energy of kind of like needing more, bit of gluttony.
Oh yeah, gluttony.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we even noticed that from the guy that we paid to rent his apartment. It was just like they wanted to squeeze more money and lie and cheat you out of the money. It was that sort of.
It was very strange.
Yeah, it wasn't a nice feeling.
No, but it was kind of like you'd walk down the little street, and I do like shopping and stuff, but I'm not one for buying a lot. Like I went to the pottery place and I ended up walking out with like 3 salad bowls. I only needed one. And I had loads of these. I just kept buying them. I didn't know what I wanted. It's like, whoa, that's not who I am. That's not what I'm like normally. So, but then we found on the last day, on the Sunday, there was an antiques market going on.
Oh, should I get the stone?
Yeah, outside the one of the church cathedrals that I wanted to go into. So there was a priest or a special guy called, I think his name was Juan. Was his name? Was it the guy Juan de la Cruz? Yeah, it was Juan de la Cruz. And they loved him so much in this village that when they died, they wanted to keep him. But because he was also from another village, it's quite a horrible story. They decided that the best way to be, instead of sending him to his home village or not be buried here in Ubeda, where he had things built after, there's a museum, there's a monastery after him, and there was a cathedral built in his name. They then decided to chop his body in half, so half of him stayed in Ubeda and was buried, and the other half got taken back to his hometown to be buried. Something I found very, very, very strange indeed. But the second-hand market, I was just walking around, and I found some stones, some rocks, and this guy was like, it's obsidian that he's got from a volcano here in Spain, like volcanic area. I forget what it's called. I'll have to have a look. So I wanted to buy a little rock. I got this little rock, and he was like, "Oh, that's so beautiful." And he managed to I haggled it down. I wanted to pay the full price for it, but Lewis was saying no. But I managed to get it down. I was like, "Oh."
I said, look, if he lets it go for 20. Then it's meant to be. If not, then it's just not meant to be.
And he let me have that for 20 and another one that I got for free that I have actually gifted to somebody else. Much to the kids. The kids not happy about that, but we've got a massive big one. So, and the person I gave it to needed it at the time, so it was quite good. But yeah, I was chuffed because I love obsidian. Obsidian is my stone. It's on my ring, and it fascinates me, and that's like a pure rock. I love them in raw rock form as well, not just polished and shaped. I prefer them raw, and that was nice. And then I also found the incense shop, the incense shop guy. So on our way to dinner one night, this little shop that I'd tried to go into a few times, it had always been shut, was open, and I walked in, and it ended up being a guy that we'd been having breakfast next to every morning since we'd been there. And he recognised me because obviously our kids are quite loud. And he's like, "Oh yeah, your son went running off to the hotel this morning." We won't go to that one. He won't want us talking about that on TV, on this video. And I went in there and I went to buy some incense. For some reason, I was getting a calling for fresh incense, not incense sticks. I wanted fresh incense. So from him, I got a little metal thing.
Which I've got to say is a game changer. If you like nice smelling stuff, get some proper incense.
Yeah.
Like not, like little grains of resin, and just buy a proper incense burner and get these little charcoal pellets that self burn.
Yeah.
And they maintain. It's brilliant. It's
really
way
nice.
better than joss sticks. Way better.
Yeah,
than
you don't
joss
have
sticks.
the burning wood, and you get people that make these beautiful fragrances like
You get what?
people.
People.
What did I say?
People.
There. You get these people that make these mixtures of incenses. Obviously, here in Spain, it's very big for Easter week. They've got the Easter week incenses, but you can also just get lavender, or you can get rosemary, or any of your dried herbs, and just burn it on there, or Palo Santo in little bits, and it's so nice, and it lasts a lot longer than just an incense stick. Anyway, I got rushed off. He did this incense thing for me. He was a really, really nice guy. And I walked out of there. I think I was a bit high on the incense. I went off for dinner, and I realised I didn't get the one that I wanted, which was an incense from India. So we went back the next day, which was our last day. We were leaving this day. It was a day we had to get back in time to get to check in and then get to the party.
And it was hot.
And it was really, really hot. And we told the kids they could buy their own chocolate because we found this artisan chocolate.
It was an olive oil shop.
It was in the olive oil shop, yeah, because we no longer drink. We were doing shots of olive oil this year, which was super. It changed, game changer, wasn't it? And the kids bought their own chocolate bars, and then I went back to the incense shop. Well, I took Lewis in there, and he's got these handmade Tibetan bowls and stuff. So we were in there for like 2 hours talking to this guy. Turns out he's very awake. He's also a light worker, and he's just doing his thing. He's a teacher of law. He was really nice guy, and we managed to connect to him quite nicely. So I think it was one of the reasons we were there.
Yeah,
was to meet this man and to get our introduction to incense from him, and then we bought our Tibetan bowl.
Yeah,
our ding dong.
Check the price before you buy them.
Yes.
Because I just said, oh yeah, okay. Because I'd been sat on the floor with my guitar tuner app on my phone, getting the frequencies, and I was sitting there, ooh, and feeling like, does it work for me? And I'm trying to find like a 5281 exactly. I wanted a miracle tone one exactly, and I don't think it works like that.
No, he showed us how they worked as well, and the kids were with us, and Leslie loved it, didn't she? I mean, she gets this thing now, and she tunes us up, she bangs it and dings it, and then she frequency heals you with it. It was a whole thing, and we found out some interesting information from him. It was really nice, and he's also an artist. He was also doing some painting.
Is that a ship? Looks like a ship.
That's an aeroplane, darling.
No,
Oh, yeah, the cloud, yeah, definitely. Okay, sorry. So it was nice. But this anniversary was really, really nice. I mean, every year we tried to do something a little bit different. We're not big on the present stuff, but we always like to get each other a little something. So we went around the little shops, and I got Lewis a mug and a postcard as an anniversary card, and he got me this beautiful little notepad as an anniversary card, which I thought was really sweet. It was really, really nice, because I got it next to my bed so that if I get a little bit of inspiration from my poems or anything and I haven't got my journal there, I can just jot into it, so it's great. But it was, I really, really enjoyed Ubeda in general.
And we did the little city tour. So first we went on a little mini tuk-tuk type thing.
Yeah.
Those little electric tuk-tuk things.
Yeah.
And then the second time it was like a little road train, but they were both good little tours.
Yeah.
If you ever, I mean, I'm sure you guys know this, but it's well worth doing these things. If there's a little tourist way of the locals give you a little tour around the town, we always find that's good. It was I probably have more fun doing that than those hop on hop off bus things.
Yeah, they're a lot more fun, and they weren't that expensive. I mean, you had to pay to get into the cathedrals and stuff, but there were some of them that I really just wanted to see inside because I was being drawn to go in, and I had to walk around in certain orders, and I was with the kids and stuff. It's weird. I've always loved churches and cathedrals because I find that the stones and stuff that they're built out of have a lot of energy in them, but these ones that we've been going to lately, there's a lot of mixed feeling in there. So it was really interesting anyway. We've really had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I think
as you develop and you start to come a bit more online and are more aware of things, done a bit more research into the powers that be and have been running the show and you start to go more in detective mode. I mean, when I'm in these churches, I'm looking at the structure. I'm thinking, hang on, so there's something going on with frequencies here. I'm pretty sold on the idea that they've been reappropriated, and that they're a lot older than we might think that they are.
Yeah.
But they had a different purpose.
I think I've always been drawn to them for that reason, because they're so different to everything else.
But anyway, so I think the thing that made Ubeda really an interesting point of conversation for us was because it was ups and downs. You know, there was quite a few things that would have that pissed me off, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
But we're also working on our reactions, and, well, you know, it's something for us to go through, it's something for us to learn, it's something for us to make a decision about. We have to make a decision. Do we do this? Do we do this? Do we just walk away? You know, do we not stick up for ourselves? Because we found that sometimes if we just, you know, well, it doesn't matter, it's only like X amount, or... but now we're in a situation where that is a significant amount of money, and if we don't stand up to it, it seems like it comes back and bites us in the arse again. And it's another lesson that's going to come back. It's a lesson.
If you don't take the lesson that comes with it, it's not. They are not coincidences. These things don't happen just for any old reason. There was a lesson behind it, and it was the fact that were we going to learn the lesson, or were we going to just walk away? And I think we've become more and more aware of this over the last few years, especially. But we also, the way we did it, it was like, okay, whose lesson is it? Because it's not always both of ours. Sometimes it's just yours. And in this case, it was Lewis's lesson more than mine. And it was mine to just not aggravate him as much as possible, and let him decide what did he want to do about it. How did he feel? What did we want to do? And how to move through it without getting ourselves in a tiff and argue about it, because it could have very well turned into an argument as well, because we were all a little bit upset, you know?
I think we really turned it around, and because we are, when you're more aware about things being for your benefit, situations being for you, and even though they might be unpleasant, they could actually be major growth nodal points, you know, major growth points for you to when it's over, to be like, I did that, and I managed to control my emotions, and I managed to do this, and I didn't let it ruin my day. And the amount of things that have happened over this summer that have been things that weren't pleasant, but were milestones once we'd completed them, and we were able to approach them in a very, very different way to normal.
Yeah.
So that was the big takeaway from Ubeda, because it started off being tainted by getting ripped off, but we still went around with fascination, and, you know, had a nice time with the kids, and we had our detective hats on, and we were spreading love and anchoring in light. Whereas it could have been, well, I hate this place, it's full of scammers, and
get me out of here as soon as
get me
possible.
out of here, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that. So
no, it wasn't like that. And the little hotel that we got, it was, you know, it was really, really nice. It was perfectly located as well, wasn't it? It was right in the middle of town, and we got a good parking spot. It was just really, really nice. It had a tiny little swimming pool, like a postage stamp. It was smaller than our little pool next door, but the kids loved it. They got to refresh while we wanted to rest a little bit in the heat of the day. You don't go out in the heat of the day in Spain, which has also been something that Lewis keeps saying this year.
Right, so let's wrap it up.
Okay, let's wrap it up. Now, the high points, Ubeda was fun. We learnt a lot, but mainly we're learning more about how to deal with our issues. So that's what we wanted to convey. We're still going to get in together with all of our videos from the summer, but we'll put some lovely visuals together for you guys of our journeys.
But it's funny how it came about, though, because I was in let's find a cheap place mode, which led us to that. So maybe if I was in a slightly less cheap mode, we might have ended up there. I don't know. I'd never even heard of the place before. So
I'd never heard of the place before, but we were supposed to be there.
It was divinely guided. We was there to get ripped off, to make the decision, to put up a fight.
And to be aware next time.
Yeah.
And not use booking.com again.
Don't use booking.com. Horrendous.
We've decided. And to be aware of where we're going. But yeah.
You can always get a good deal when you go direct to the hotel or direct to these places.
It's hard. It's hard. I find it hard because every time you're looking for somewhere, booking.com, because obviously when we were travelling through France, I had to avoid booking.com because of what had happened in the summer, and Lucy's like, we're not using them again. But I found better websites and cheaper deals, so that was quite good. Yeah, Trivago works well.
Anyway, next time, what are we going to talk about next week?
I would like next week to talk about the massive energy shifts I've been feeling, Halloween, and because then we've got Halloween coming up, and then it's what we're working on. We've had some beautiful moments this week, I think.
Yeah, but it does feel like things are heating up. I know I say that every few months there seems to be a big push, like, oh, something's going to happen soon. Something's going to happen soon. But I'm really feeling it. Feels like something's going to happen soon.
Energy-wise, all of our friends and family, well, most of our friends have been saying that they've felt like it's been very heavy. They've all been dealing with old issues that they thought they'd dealt with. Everything's coming back. And I've noticed since the new moon, everything's kind of lifted. I'm walking around on cloud 9 because I rose up to there and when we went to soul school, and I'm not coming back down. Just decided. Constant heart space, and that's where you are at as well. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So hopefully you've enjoyed today's show of us rambling on for a while about our bits and bobs.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be interesting for us in a year's time. We'll look back and go, oh yeah, that's where we were on our journey.
Yeah.
Because from one week to another, it doesn't feel like... Well, we are having some pretty big shifts, though. So
we are having massive shifts, but we just didn't talk about that today. And we wanted to start this channel like 2 or 3 years ago, and we would have noticed even bigger shifts coming today. So
and maybe we need to find a format that's probably a bit easier to digest. I don't know. Maybe is it too long? Is it too long? Is it too short? I don't know. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all from us for now, and we'll see you next week.
See you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.